We're your hosts,
Aaron Bacus
and Jason Kindler.
We like to sit down with our guests to hear their journey, their challenges, and how they impact the local community.
So grab a seat, tune in, and let's get inspired by Jacksonville's everyday workforce.
Welcome to Hometown Jacks.
Deborah McDuffie, thank you so much for coming to Hometown Jacks. I really appreciate that. The Jingle Queen, where does that come from?
Well, I'm the second female music producer in advertising and the record industry. Only the second, and I'm the first Black.
Wow,
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So the record companies gave me the name the Jingle Queen.
Really?
Yeah.
So that was coined a long time ago.
The year is unmentionable.
Well, I love that nickname. That's awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear about your story. I can't wait to hear about what you think about music and all the people you've worked with, what you think about music today, and all of that good stuff. So let's jump right in.
Okay.
So where'd you grow up? Where were you born?
I grew up in Queens, New York.
So you're a tough girl, huh?
Oh, no, the Brooklyn girls were the tough girls. The Queen, every once in a while we'd win one, but they won most of them.
Right. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. So how long did you live in New York?
I lived in New York till 1996.
Okay.
I moved down here in 96.
Okay. So let's talk about your story in New York. So you went to all school in New York. How did you get connected into music? How did that progress?
I started music in junior high school and choruses in junior high school.
Okay.
So I knew when I went to college that I actually wanted to be a music teacher. I was not gearing up to be a professional musician.
Okay.
I wanted to teach music.
Yes.
And it was, believe it or not, preferably elementary school.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that was your dream initially, to be an elementary school teacher.
Right.
That taught music.
Right.
That's really awesome.
Right.
When do you remember when you were young having the itch that you love music?
Still young.
Of course. You still are young. That's a good point. When you were younger in New York, when did you know that you really wanted to have a music career?
When we were in college, all seniors, I went to a small 200-girl, all-women's college.
In New York?
In Oxford, Ohio.
Wow,
which
interesting.
was about a half hour from Cincinnati.
Okay.
200 girls in the whole school, in the whole college.
Wow.
And the senior year, all the seniors had to write 3 letters to 3 different companies requesting a job interview.
Right.
So one of my friends had an uncle who was a vice president art director at, I don't remember, BBD&O. Everybody knows it as BBD&O, one of the largest agencies in the world.
Okay.
So I wrote a letter to him. I actually wrote a letter to 3 ad agency music directors.
Okay.
And basically it was to fulfill the assignment. I had no desire to do that. And he wrote back and he gave me 3 names. He says, with affirmative action and equal opportunity, agencies are being required to hire, African Americans. So here are 3 Black music directors at ad agencies.
Okay.
Right to them.
Wow.
And they all responded.
Wow.
They all responded. Now, Billy Davis, who was the music director at McCann Erickson, which had recently launched the Buy the World a Coke campaign.
Interesting.
So he was over in Europe shooting the television commercial.
Right.
And he called and told the person who was in his department to interview her right away. I need somebody who can produce, who's in the office while I do all this traveling. So on Easter break, I was going to be in New York anyway. I went and had the interview, and they hired me right away.
So that assignment really just propelled you out there.
It fell in
and
my
you
lap.
didn't even, that wasn't even a thing for you
Right.
at that point.
I went back to school. I doubled up on my credits. I finished in April, and I started at McCann April 19th of 19.
Wow. And that's in New York, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Manhattan, right, Midtown
So
Manhattan.
describe that company. You say that they're an agency. What does an agency do?
And everything related to marketing.
Okay.
They do television commercials, radio commercials, print ads, special promotions, anything having to do with a brand and growing the demographics. So to
Okay.
speak.
So it was more about brand than music development of musicians.
Well, the incredible thing about McCann is it was most of their clients were music based.
Okay.
So even though the print ads and all of those other things came into play, it was the music that was the driving force to the success of the campaign. So I really lucked up into getting an agency where music was one of the primary focuses.
I mean, it was your dream. You
Right.
wanted to be a music teacher, so now you're going to the next level.
And that's what I said. I said, I'm going to do this for 2 years,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to move into education.
Okay.
So it took me 32 years.
So let's talk about that because it's so exciting. So you start there right out of college. What were you working on? Like, what did they have you working on right in the beginning?
The first music I wrote was for a local company called OIC, Opportunities Industrialization Centers.
Okay.
And it was a company that provided jobs for not just young people, but for disenfranchised groups of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote music and lyrics. It's called Find the Way Out. And
So you wrote lyrics to help promote their cause.
The lyrics always emphasize the brand and the purpose of the product.
Okay.
So we try to link. Back then, what advertising did was link positive values with the product.
Right.
Like, it's the real thing. Coke is.
Right.
So when you thought of Coke, you said, "Oh, I gotta have this." It's the real
Yeah,
thing.
that's really neat.
Yeah.
We skipped over your family. Tell me a little bit about your family. Did you have any brothers or sisters?
I had three. I have three. There were four of us. So I had three sisters.
Okay.
2 older and 1 younger.
Okay. And all grew up in New York with you.
Right.
That's awesome.
Right.
Okay. Awesome. So you started this company, you start writing music for companies. So tell me about that progression. What do you remember for like how you kind of just went up the stair step of working with you musicians, and then how did you get to the next step?
Well, I moved through the whole process rather quickly. One of the main reasons is because they really needed a second producer in the department.
Mm-hmm.
Billy was all over the place. Billy Davis, by the way, started out in the record industry, and I don't know how old you are, but he wrote the song Higher and Higher.
Okay.
Among other hits. So he
Yes.
started out with Barry Gordy,
Okay.
and then moved to Chess Records,
Okay.
and then the agency went after him because they knew their products were music driven,
Okay.
and they wanted to have a strong, not a jingle producer, so to speak, but a music producer.
And
that-
what exactly does a music producer do? Like, to break it down for our audience.
It was different back then than what it does today because of all the electronics and whatever. Back in the day, a music producer, what Billy and I did is we got the assignment from the client. We would go to a client meeting and get the assignment. And then the first thing we would do is write the jingle, and get that approved. And then we would determine which artists fit best with the branding and with the product. And then we would set up the session. Then we would negotiate the talent. I became really good at negotiating artists.
So was the jingle you wrote, what when you matched them up with the singer, was the singer representing the brand too?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It's called a product endorsement.
Okay.
Right.
So it was somewhat of endorsement. Okay.
And that would be a part of the contract. They would get paid X amount of dollars to sing the jingles. A lot of times, especially with our Miller commercials, it would open with, here are the temptations for Coca-Cola.
Gotcha.
And then the jingle would go in.
Give me some idea of how much people got paid back then. If you were a top singer and someone wanted your endorsement.
White folks got a whole lot more than we did.
Okay.
Black artists got between 25 and 30, and that's for a year, for the rights to run the commercials for a year.
25 and 30,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
White or pop artists got the biggest cut.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, we're talking radio.
Okay.
Okay. So white artists would get anywhere from, start at 20, but would go up to 50, 75.
That's a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was a guarantee against residuals. And what that means is that when you do a commercial, it runs for a certain time, and then you get paid again.
Okay.
So local commercials run for 13 weeks in 13-week cycles, and after the 13 weeks, you get paid again.
Interesting.
Now, television, you get residuals every time the commercial airs.
Wow.
So if you have a television commercial and it's airing on, back then, NBC, ABC, and CBS, however many times it runs on each station, it's ching-ching.
Wow.
And that's why their contract fees were so high, because the agency knew that they were going to reach that peak really anyway. So they just went ahead and put that in the contract.
Sounds like the artists had a lot of leverage back then as far as getting a lot of revenue for that.
Right.
Getting a royalty off of every commercial, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess it translates into what product they're selling and how much money you're making on the product.
Right. And Coke was one of the big ones.
Right.
Coke was one, and the beer companies were one of the big ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
What an exciting career just to jump right into.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're right in the fire of everything.
I was. And because Billy also was a songwriter, he literally trained me on how to write a jingle, to the point where it's now difficult for me to write a song because there's so much time. Because I mastered the art of getting a whole story in 60 seconds.
Interesting.
So now when I have 3.5 minutes, it's like...
That's too long.
Yeah, right.
Well, what is the art of writing a jingle? Tell me about that. What does that mean to you?
Well, the format is pretty standard. Verse, chorus, out. Which is what a single is. At least it was back in the day. Verse, chorus, verse. Maybe you'd have a bridge depending on the song, and then you'd go out after that. So I had the verse would make the statement. It's the real thing in the back of your mind. What you're hoping to find is the real thing. Mm-hmm. People want to find life's good things, see what real life can bring. Second verse. I'm sorry, that's the bridge, when the music changes.
When you say bridge, what do you mean by that?
New music.
Okay.
It's the real thing in the back of your mind. What you're hoping to find is the real thing. Mm-hmm. People want to find life's good things. That's the bridge.
Got you.
See what real life can bring. That's the way it is. Verse. And the way it will stay. What the world wants today is the real thing. 60 seconds.
I like it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Now with the song form, I would write 40 seconds of original song. And then all of a sudden the tagline would come with the product.
For the brand recognition.
Right.
Okay.
And what happened is with me, my quote jingles were so convincingly record sounding that the client said it was mandatory that we put the artist in the beginning of the commercial. Welcome to Miller Time with Teddy Pendergrass.
Right.
Because people were thinking that they were hearing the artist's next single, and they were calling the record company saying, when is it going to drop? When
Very
can I?
neat.
Yeah.
Very neat.
I mean, it was a good thing to happen, but the record companies, they were like, you gotta name it from the beginning,
right?
So we get our money for it.
It's so interesting that you were very conscious of being a short period of time, even back then.
Yeah.
Because it seems like human nature is very short attention span now. We know now it's even shorter.
Right.
But back then, it seemed like you really focused on that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and we tried to write life situations that geared specifically to that market.
Okay.
Like we did Roy Orbison for Coca-Cola, and Billy wrote a jingle called "My Old Car." My old car broke down in the middle of. It really sounds like the next single.
Right. Lots of creativity for sure.
Yeah.
So walk me through that progression. So you get in there, young college, out of college, you're starting to write jingles. You're really just involved in everything. What's the next progression of what you're doing next?
Well, there was so I was producing on my own within the year.
Wow. A year out of college.
Yeah, I wasn't even. I turned 21 3 months after I joined the agency.
Wow.
I was 20 when I joined.
So did was your family musical? Is that how you had the drive?
My mother sang, but she just sang. She had a beautiful voice, but she just sang around the house.
Right.
So
it was something inside of you that you dug out.
And my sister got it too. My sister lives in Philly, and she's an incredible singer-songwriter, actress. She's all over the place.
Oh, neat. Okay. Family business.
Yeah.
That's great. So right out of the gate, you turn 21, you're working, you're doing all this stuff. Describe the progression. What are you doing next? Or how long are you doing jingles? When do you get into actual songwriting? I'm assuming that's the progression, or?
I was songwriting all along.
Okay.
What happened is that when I started when I was given permission to hire the singers and the musicians, you have to realize that I was working with the top musicians in the world who lived in New York.
Right.
Because they could make so much money doing jingles. You know, you're in for an hour and you may cut 3 jingles in an hour.
Right.
And then you just sit and wait for the residuals to flow in.
So the artists were really coming to you because you guys had the company, they knew.
The artists weren't coming to us. We would go because we were very selective about the artists we picked.
Okay.
But the musicians, yes, they call studio musicians.
Mm-hmm.
And I started working with them, and they started asking me if I wanted to sing on records with them. That's how I got into the record industry.
Really cool.
And somehow the record producers could see that I was more than a singer.
Mm-hmm.
And I started getting hired freelance to do record projects.
Was that okay, doing freelance and working at the same company?
Records, yes. Jingles, no.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
In fact, until I started my own production company, I couldn't sing on any of the jingles that I produced. It was called double dipping.
Right, right, exactly. So you're going out and finding the talent. Was the talent reputation a big deal in selecting them, or really was it all about the talent? Like reputation?
No. Not necessarily reputation. Yeah, reputation. I mean, as much as I wanted to do, what's the guy's name? Oh God, I can't remember. Okay, I got to think of somebody who was.
What I mean is like if you had a great singer but wasn't known as a very good person, like was out and about and all that, would you shy away from him?
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay.
And I shied away from quite a few because
right. Right.
And a few who were very reputable got in trouble while I was producing them. The Whispers, are you familiar with that group, the Twin Brothers?
Okay.
One of the members of the group was in a jewelry heist.
Oh boy.
And got caught.
Okay.
And it was the day before the session was to take place.
Oh boy.
So I went ahead and did the session because I wasn't sure because it wasn't the whole,
Right.
But they wouldn't air it. And then back in the day, Howard Hewitt got in some trouble.
Uh-huh.
And the day of the session, I mean, we sat around all day waiting for Howard to show up, and he never showed up. And then
boy.
the news came on at 5:00 saying, "Howard Hewitt arrested."
Oh, jeez.
For whatever he was doing in a parking lot. I won't be specific. But
gosh, you were really in the swing of it. How long did a session last typically? Like when you're
depended on what I was doing. I usually did 3 spots in a session.
Okay.
And the session usually lasts from as we say, from cradle to grave, about 5-6 hours.
Okay.
The musicians took about an hour. And then the singers took, because they were doing solos and leads, the singers took about an hour and a half.
Okay.
And then there was the mix process.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something about starting your own production company. Was that the next step, or?
The account supervisor at McCann on the Miller account opened one of the first black advertising agencies.
Okay.
In the world.
To compete with McCann.
Not to compete with McCann, just to be in the industry.
Right.
There were none.
Right.
There were none. In fact, he was one of the few black senior execs in any agency at the time.
Wow.
And Miller loved him. So he decided to open his own agency, and he got the. By now, the accounts were split. So there was a black consumer market campaign, and then there was the general market campaign, and then there was also a Hispanic campaign.
Okay.
So when he left McCann Erickson because Miller said that if he left, they would give him the black business.
Wow.
So when he left, he took me with him.
Okay.
So I became the music director. I was no longer just a producer. I was calling the shots.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were you doing differently there? Calling the shots? What, like?
Oh, I had total control.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I was just a producer.
How old were you then? Do you remember?
Yeah. 30.
Okay. Awesome.
I had been at McCann almost 10 years.
Okay.
In fact, I resigned 30 days before my pension would have kicked through.
Oh, man. Did you forget about that?
No, I didn't.
Opportunity was too good to pass up.
And the
it's time to get going.
The campaign had to be produced and in the can
Right.
before that 30-day period.
Mm-hmm.
So it was either I did it or I didn't.
Okay.
So.
So let's talk about the new firm. So what were you doing differently then? You said you were running everything.
Well, I was running everything music.
Okay.
So I was making all of the choices.
Okay.
Which Billy was making most of the decisions and choices. I was doing writing and producing, but he was making the decisions. I got to choose the artist. I went to client meetings and presented, this is the music we're going to be doing for this year, and these are the artists.
Wow.
And I tell them why.
Okay.
I would do demos of the jingles I had written for them to listen to, because they sign off on everything.
Right.
But once they sign off, you carte blanche.
Right.
You've got to.
Right.
It's like having a rich daddy.
And
Seriously.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm looking at some of my questions here. Now, did you ever start working on records?
I started working on records in '75.
Okay.
Oh, I just gave it away.
Can you? What is your favorite record? What comes to mind?
I don't think I have a favorite record.
Do you have a favorite song?
You mean that I produced?
Yes, that you were involved in. And I'm going to go down the favorite road here. So this is question number one.
Well, I sang on the soundtrack to The Wiz.
Okay.
And that was so incredible because it was Quincy Jones, and it was every singer in New York was on. There were 100+ singers in the chorus.
Wow.
And I also sang in the children's choir as well. But it was like a moment in history to have all of these folks. Roberta Flack was there. Aretha was there.
Wow.
You name them, they were all there singing along with us regular session singers.
Right.
So it was phenomenal. So I loved doing that.
Do you remember one superstar that you were around that you really like? Wow, I really like that person. Like they're one of my favorites.
It was more than one. I became very close with Roberta Flack and Patti LaBelle.
Okay.
And the three of us kind of used to hang out.
Oh, very cool.
Which was it was because they didn't have the opportunity to, I'll just say, to live normal lives. To go out and walk Manhattan and whatever. But when I was there, they could, because I'm known as the pit bull. So I'm one of those. She's not taking any. No, she's not doing it. And they felt so comfortable that we would just go around the city.
So you would just tell it like it is. It wasn't. You never treated them like.
Can't you tell?
Right. I can definitely tell that. I wanted you to admit that first.
I have no problem admitting it.
Yes, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Now, my favorite thing to do in my career was performing on Saturday Night Live.
You performed on Saturday Night Live?
I certainly did. I did the Christmas show of the first year.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible. So that was your did you do it multiple years or you just do it that year?
I did it 3 or 4 times the first year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were actually singing. Is that what you were doing?
Excuse me?
I didn't know if you were producing or all that stuff.
Oh, no.
I'm trying to figure it all in my brain.
Right. No.
Okay.
I was singing.
Do you remember who the comedians were?
Oh, this was the original Chevy Chase. Belushi,
really?
Gilda Radner. This was all the original.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. They would come in our dressing room. We were trying to rehearse because you go in at 2:00.
Yeah.
You rehearse till 5, and then you rehearse in your dressing room until the show.
Okay.
And they just, after rehearsal, they just came in the show and wanted us to sing backup for them. And none of them could sing.
Right.
Plus, they were all,
Yes.
in La La Land.
Right. Got you. Were you just laughing all the time? I just assume that you're laughing all the time in an environment like that.
Yes.
It was pretty funny people to be around.
Yeah.
Right.
They were, they really were.
How'd you get that opportunity? That is just amazing.
I got a call.
Yeah.
That's the way most of the opportunities, I just got a call.
Right. Well, you have a magnetic personality. I guess people just didn't have a choice. They were going to call you.
Well, thank you.
This is kind of a thoughtful question, but like, could you recognize a talent like immediately? Kind of
Yeah.
like the American Idol. Like you're sitting there and you've seen through people after people, and then all of a sudden someone comes, you're like, that's it.
Still can.
Really?
Yep.
What makes that? What do you feel when you see that how do you know?
The instrument has a lot to do with it.
Okay.
But you don't have to have the best instrument to be a stellar artist. And what I look is for the combination. I gravitate away from people who sing from their ego, and because after a while the audience figures out that's what you're doing. They may not call it that, but they know this. They can feel that energy, and I love working with or seeing the people who sing from their heart. And once again, I don't know how old you are. Do you know who Burt Bacharach is? He wrote all the Dionne Warwick songs.
Okay, I know Dionne Warwick.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
He wrote all of her big hits. And he used to do concerts. He used to go around singing the songs he wrote for her live in concert. And he could stay on pitch, but that was about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so much here that his concerts would always sell out. And that's what you look for this, because you don't have to have the best voice to be a successful artist.
That's really interesting. I mean, you hear that a lot,
Yeah.
but you just, for people that are laymen like me that don't know anything about music, it's find it hard to believe. But like you're saying, it's like, be real. That's really what makes it attractive,
Right.
and successful.
Exactly.
Wow.
From the heart, because you have to surrender in order to do that. You have to open up in order
Be vulnerable.
to do that. Right.
Okay.
Right. And very few people are comfortable doing it. It's an uncomfortable feeling because you feel like you're not in control.
Right.
But you aren't.
That's a interesting way to put it. Does charisma have something to do with it?
Definitely.
Stage presence, like magnetivity, you know?
Definitely.
Okay.
That's how the ones who don't sing that great get over. They have that magnetic personality.
Right.
You're just drawn to them.
Right.
But I'm talking artistry.
Is that something you can teach, or is that just innate? You either have it or don't.
Yeah, but it's a painful process for the person, because then they have to recognize some things about themselves that are not very pleasant to recognize. But if they and I tell them up front, my favorite line is permission to speak freely. If I say permission to speak freely, that means I'm getting ready to say something that may hurt your feelings.
Right.
But if we want to do what we're going to do, then I have to be able to do that. And if I have to take time to figure out how to say it to you so that your feelings won't be hurt.
I mean, I would imagine the music industry is very brutally honest. I mean, it's got to be.
Yeah.
To succeed.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Can you remember a non-popular decision you made that you went against the grain? That like, I'm going to do this jingle, or I'm going to support this musician, and everybody like, nope, that's not going to work. That's not, I'm going to do it. I believe in it, and it ended up working out.
Mm-hmm. All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Okay.
Mainly because as the only black female during the 70s and 80s, most of my vision was different from everybody else's to begin with.
Right.
So I was constantly told, you shouldn't do that. We don't want you to do that. And I said, if you hired me to do the job, you need to let me do the job the way
Right.
I envision it being done.
Right.
And after 2 or 3 successes,
then
what do you think, Deb?
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting.
We'll get back to the story in just a second, but while you're listening, here's something you should know if you live in Northeast Florida. If you're self-employed and trying to buy a home, it's not as hard as you might think. We work with business owners, freelancers, and creatives every single day. People who don't fit the traditional housing molds, and we're here to let you know that we have real loan programs that make homeownership possible. We've helped tons of local business owners and creatives get approved using flexible loan options that work for them and their business. First Coast Mortgage Funding is proud to sponsor Hometown Jacks right here in Jacksonville.
How do you, I know you were a music teacher too. I know we're bouncing around a bit, but like what techniques, like how do you teach people to sing? Like what is a technique? Like how do you, that's very abstract to me that don't know anything about music.
So is my method of teaching. And I'm not trying to be funny, but I literally teach to the individual person. Like the way I teach you may not be the way I teach Amelia.
Okay.
Because I tune in to who the person is. And then I fine tune what I'm teaching to the person. So
Okay.
while I may fuss at her for not singing something accurately, I may say, now, Aaron, let's try. It all depends on the person. It all depends on the person. And I think that's why my programs in school were so great, because I literally learned all of my students.
Interesting.
I learned all of my students.
When you said Aaron, I was like, yes, Miss McDuffie. Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Actually, my students call me Ma.
Yes.
Believe it or not. To the chagrin of the principal. Yeah. They still do. Some of them are still with me. They're in their 30s and 40s. They're
Oh,
still
wow.
with me.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of these famous people you keep mentioning that just like you just mention their name like they're nothing. It's kind of interesting. I got the list. Luther Vandross.
My best friend. Yeah.
I mean, Luther Vandross is huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Great guy.
Awesome.
I got him his first deal.
Wow.
I got him his first record deal with Epic. And it wasn't, and I say it like that very cavalier. It was a process. And I didn't make it happen, but I didn't give up. I was actually dating the head of A&R at Epic.
Okay.
And I said, if you don't ever do anything I tell you to do, you need to sign this guy.
Interesting.
And I think that conversation went on for 2 years.
Wow.
For 2 years.
Well, I imagine most artists aren't really business people. Like, they're artists, right?
Well, it's not just that. It's that record companies are copycats. So everybody, in terms of R&B, the harsh male, the Teddy Pendergrass, James Brown sound was in. So nobody wanted to take a chance on Luther because he was that smooth, silky soul. And they didn't feel that was black. And that's why nobody wanted to sign him. But from having worked with him so much and sung with him so much, I knew that it would be infectious, and not only to women, not just to black women, and not just to women, but to men as well. And that's, even to this day, you hear, men talk about Luther's music and what it did for them.
And you say that, I would imagine that was a pretty controversial opinion back at that point.
Right.
Wow.
I had the same problem with him in advertising. I kept recording him for jingles, and the client kept saying no. Try another one, no. And I once was asked to replace him with Michael Bolton, who was also a good friend of mine.
Interesting.
And Luther hit the ceiling. He said, I don't mind if you don't use me, but you got to replace me with Michael Bolton. He's a rocker.
Well, I'm gonna name off some names here. We can do some rapid fire. Gladys Knight.
I produced Gladys Knight for Kentucky Fried Chicken for about 3 years, and I also produced her for Coca-Cola.
Wow.
She was one of the first artists. Gladys Knight and the Pips was one of the first artists I produced for Coca-Cola in 1972.
Wow.
Yeah.
Al Green.
Yeah, I produced jingles and a record with him.
Wow.
In fact, he was paired with Billy Preston, and it was pre-nominated for a Grammy. That's as far as it went, but it was
Very nice. Patti LaBelle.
good bud.
Good bud.
Yeah.
Janet Jackson.
Janet was, like I said, she was 16
Yes.
and very naive. And
Even coming from a music family, like she was immersed in it, right?
Yeah, but they're all naive.
Right.
There was not one.
Naive meaning what? Like, what do you mean? Like, just not knowing how the world works in the music business?
I don't know, Aaron. It's that.
Right.
And the thing about Michael was able to take that and drop it when he was performing.
So not so much naive, but also hesitant, like not confident.
Not hesitant, confident, but quiet, shy, reticent, not wanting to make way. Just.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And which is why it took her 3 years to, quote, find her voice, and in the terms of the record industry. And they wondered how I got the sound I got out of her for that commercial, because they had never heard her sing like that. And I wouldn't tell them.
Let's do it to it with Janet Jackson.
What a perfect day for having some fun. The temperature's rising, there's plenty of sun. We'll start out early, won't stop till we're done. I've got the music, she's got the music, we got the wish they'd never end. With my best buddies around me and plenty of Mountain Dew. Hi, this is Janet Jackson. For me, there's nothing like the refreshing taste of Mountain Dew to really chill you out. So come on and do it, do it, do it, do it, Mountain Dew, do it, to see me through. When I got a thirst, quench it, smooth it, cool it, do it, Mountain Dew.
And but yeah, it's that whole family is very, very quiet, soft spoken, don't want to make waves, everything.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like they're probably one of the most famous families ever. That's
Right.
just. Did you know Michael?
Yes,
Interesting.
worked with Michael
What
later in my career.
What stood out to you about Michael?
Michael, well, the word for them for the most part is childlike, because that's what I was going to say. Michael, he was getting an honor from the Children's Choice Award, and I was producing the show. And when so they put him on the stage, and now Michael Jackson, and they opened the curtain, and he just stood there. I had to walk out on stage and grab his hand and walk with him down to the front to the microphone.
Because he was just nervous. Like,
Oh, he wasn't nervous.
he just
He just didn't know what to do.
right.
It was simple as that. He
Right.
didn't know what to do. He had so much protection and so many bodyguards that he never had the opportunity to talk to anybody to see, okay, when the curtain opens, what do you want me to do?
Interesting.
Or even the fact that he was going to be put there. He had no clue.
Michael Jackson I absolutely love, and that was in my age range. And I'm starting to remember whenever he was at an awards or whatever, it was very awkward and silent and all of that. That's well, you mentioned Michael Bolton.
Right. Michael Bolton and
You
I,
have a big smile.
because we were good buddies.
Okay.
And he's got some health challenges right now, but
Okay.
we were both working at RCA one day, and RCA studio in different studios, and so I had met him before, so I went into the studio and said, "Hey, Mike, I'm next door doing so and so." So I just wanted to say hey, and he said, "You got a minute?" And we sat down, and he said, "Deb, the record company just wants me to be this hardcore rocker," and he said, "I just want to sing R&B. That's all I want to do."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, ride it out. The opportunity will come along." But when he did commercials, because he would do commercials for me for scale. I mean, for scale means for what everybody else got. He didn't get any higher pay, and I would always let him sing R&B on the commercials. And I don't know if that's what triggered with hey, this guy's legitimate R&B singer. But about a year or so after that, he got a solo deal, and the rest is history.
Wow. Wow. It sounds like the theme of you is that people really trusted you to come to you in an industry that could be challenging.
Right.
Right. And fake, I guess, sometimes.
Exactly.
And people need a real person to
I was
talk
going
to.
to say, if nothing else, I was real.
B.B. King.
I did B.B. King for Kentucky Fried Chicken also.
Okay.
Back then it wasn't KFC, it was Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Okay.
And that was like a dream come, B.B. King. Wow, it's like doing Dizzy Gillespie or something. And I did him in Vegas. When I moved into being the music director at Mingo Jones Advertising, I could kind of go wherever I wanted to go to produce, which was neat. So he was appearing in Las Vegas. So I said, I'm going to go do BB in Las Vegas. Okay. And it was radio and print. So the creative director went with me because she would supervise the print portion. Well, BB King got lost on the way to the studio, and I don't know why they did not provide a driver for him. They meaning his company.
Mm-hmm.
He got lost, and when he walked into the studio like 2 hours late, he had a big barbecue sauce stain on his suit. And the creative director, Carolyn Jones, she just, because they were going to do the print ad right after the radio, and they didn't want to try to, because it was a baby blue, almost the color of her cup.
Uh-huh.
It was a baby blue suit. So if you see the ad, I think he's he's either holding up a piece of chicken or he's holding
Try
something right above.
Oh, my
so,
gosh.
so you don't see the spot. But these are the things in advertising, on the spot, things that you have to go through. But the commercials came out great. They came out great. And he brought Lucille, and he played Lucille. So
what a bit of history.
yeah.
I see Will Smith on there. Is that the Will Smith that the rapper Will Smith, the actor Will Smith?
It's the same person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about Will Smith.
Will Smith was also 17 when I introduced him. For a Miller as a brand, first of all, was what we call in advertising white people friendly.
Okay.
They weren't interested in marketing their beer to black folks or
Okay.
Hispanics. They just weren't.
Okay.
They were country, if you got that
Right.
kind of.
Right.
Stop laughing at me. So in the early, he was mid 80s. I did Will in mid 80s. He was not. He just turned 17
Okay.
because there was some concern because he wasn't 18.
That's what I was going to ask. Right.
And in my opinion, he wasn't the best rapper.
Mm-hmm.
But we paired him. It was it Fresh? No, it was Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince when he was rapping.
Yes.
That would have cost some money because they had hit. So the agent said, why don't we pair Will Smith with DJ Jazzy Jeff, who was another rapper who was doing really great. So that's what we did, and we did a Miller Lite. It's everything you always wanted in a beer and less. And he and Jazzy Jeff rapped to the track that I had cut.
Wow.
And,
how cool is
It's
that?
the only commercial he ever did in his life.
Really?
Think about it. He's never done another commercial.
He hasn't. Well, I mean, he was advertising beer when he couldn't even drink it, right? That's funny because he's got a National Geographic out show now that I saw that he's traveling around the world. That's interesting. Looking at some other names here, Teddy Pendergrass.
I produced Teddy before he had the accident, right? I produced him. He was I think the first artist I produced for Mingo Jones when I went to the Black Agency. And I also ended up post-accident doing some work with him on the Uptown Theater in Philadelphia. That's very similar to the Ritz. I think they were built the same year.
Okay.
Teddy too was a trip.
Yes.
First of all, I knew he was an egomaniac. So in the backgrounds we had Luther, Ashford and Simpson, Roberta Flack. Those were the background singers for his commercial.
The background singers.
Right, they were the background singers for his.
Did they like being the background singers, or?
They liked those checks,
Right.
And remember for jingles, and he only did a 60 and a 30-second spot. It was for television.
Right.
So, and they knew about the residuals with the TV first of all, and then 20 minutes and they're done. And it was nice because those artists don't always get the opportunity not only not to meet each other, but to to spend time fellowship, just to hang out. So it was one of those, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's really
It was a lot
cool.
of fun.
Temptations.
The Temptations sang my first commercial. It's in the book. They sang the first commercial I wrote.
Wow.
They sang.
Wow.
It's called Weekend.
Well, speaking of your book, you brought it here today, and what's really cool about it, it seems like it goes through your whole history and then has the QR codes to music to play while you're reading. I like that.
Right.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I wanted to make it interesting because once again, today people don't read. They don't like to read that much. And while the story is fascinating, if you can break it up with some.
I think it's a brilliant idea to have the music intertwined in the book and make it real by being able to put it on your phone and play it. That's really cool.
And there are also 50 memories of people I worked with in the business. Singers, musicians.
Right.
Some of the artists actually did
Wow.
a memory for me, so it's kind of fun.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And another one that jumped out to me, MC Hammer.
I know this is a video, and I shouldn't have made that face.
I went to one of his shows, so tell me about him. I'm dying to hear.
MC Hammer was, and this was, did British Knights sneakers get down here?
I don't know.
Early 90s?
Okay.
Okay. So they hired him to do their inaugural campaign and hired me to to do the music. Now they were doing You Can't Touch This. They were doing a parody of that. So really it wasn't that much creativity involved. I produced him at, I can't even remember the name of Prince's studio in Minneapolis, which I love because I had never been there and I always wanted to go there. And when I walked in the studio, he hadn't gotten there yet, but there were between 50 and 20 sleeping bags on the floor in the control room,
Okay.
all with teenage girls in them.
Oh boy.
So I was stepping over bodies. Excuse me, pardon me, pardon me.
What a funny story.
You know, by this time in my career, I had pretty much seen it all.
Right.
And they're looking up at me and glaring like we had an arrangement here and you're screwing up the arrangement. So he walked in and it was pretty much just recording a 30-second version of You Can't Touch This with parody lyrics for BKs. You Can't Touch This BKs.
Right.
And then they also did a television commercial with the music that I had produced. And then I was gone. That was one of those
Quick ones.
Yeah, I was out of the studio in about 2 hours.
Wow. How was he, dude? Didn't really have much time to get to know him, I guess.
Didn't want to.
Right.
Besides, those girls were still in the control room.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
so many other ones. Four Tops.
Four Tops I also did them in Vegas and I was pregnant
Okay.
with my first child. And I remember that because their manager, Sid Seidenberg, he was a huge New York manager out of New York. I said that. And so he came out for the session. And I was like right at 4 months when the cravings are really like. So I started whining. I said, Sid, I want a hot dog. He's like, okay, Deborah, take it for a hot dog. He drove me all over, but I wanted a kosher hot dog, like a Coney Island hot dog, those hot dogs. And he was like, Deb, they didn't hire me to do this. You know that, right? I mean, he was like one of the top management agents in the country.
Right.
And but he drove me around probably for a good 40 minutes. And then he saw this little hole in the wall place. He said, they got to have those. And they did.
Well, there you go.
And they did.
That's right.
So, but the Four Tops, one of the most complete groups in terms of artistry, they all could sing. Usually when you do a group, and a group like that, like a 4 or 5 man group,
there's somebody that's
the
weak.
soloist is great, the background singer's not so much, or two background singers are good, and the others can't even carry a tune. But they had sung together for so many years,
Right.
that it was a joy to same thing with the Pips. It's like, what's my note? Blah blah blah, and then they were gone.
Well, we talked about charisma earlier. I'm assuming they had a charisma as a group.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
Now, we talked about being able to recognize an artist that's special. Do you remember songs that you like, yep, that one's going to explode?
You mean that I wrote jingles?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes. Larry Graham, who used to be with Sly and the Family Stones, he was the bass player, and then he did the song "One in a Million You" as a solo artist, and his solo career took off. I wrote 3 commercials for him, and I knew when he sang them, I said, oh God, these could be records, because there was so much of this, and he's got a really neat voice to begin with, but when he put that in it,
The heart's what wins, it sounds like.
yeah.
Now, as somebody that writes the jingles, like you're just working for a company, so you're not entitled to the rights of the jingle. Like
in advertising, and this no longer applies. Ad agencies are totally different now. But when you write an original, if you're on staff, it's one thing. No, it's not. Whether you're on staff or not, it's called a work for hire. That's how it's copyrighted. And what that means is that for the life of the campaign, or for the life of however many years the agency wants to use it, they have the right to use that. But the copyright claim stays mine. And I took most of my commercials, like Larry Graham's, and wrote them as songs. So I could go ahead and record them with artists as songs, and the agency the client had no hold over them.
Oh,
so it was a work for hire.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the agency had the first time period of
Right.
it. So you kind of had the end of it when okay, we're done, that's yours.
Yeah, but even if at some point they wanted to use it again, they could.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting. So you're in New York for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
What made you decide to come, I guess, to Jacksonville? Were you tired of the big lights?
No. In the New Jack Swing hip hop started to hit in the mid-'80s, early mid-'80s. And that's when the music industry started to change. And I had no desire to produce the kind of music that was coming into the whatever.
Right.
By the early 90s, electronics had hit. So why hire a producer and 30 musicians when you can get one guy who can do it all on a machine?
Right.
So it wasn't just me. It was other producers who just said, you know what? Some stayed and adapted, learned the new technology. I said, I have no desire to create music from a machine. So I said, well, you know what? 30 years ago, I was going to be a teacher, so let me be a teacher. And I found out, I was down here visiting, I was dating a Navy guy who got transferred here to Jax. And when I came to see him one day, I was watching television, and they announced the teacher fair that they used to have every year. I don't think they have it anymore. It was at the Prime Osborne.
Okay.
And every school in Duval had a table in the Prime Osborne.
Really cool.
And you went from table to table, seeing if a school needed a job in your position.
Okay.
And I got to Jeff Davis Middle School, and the principal said to me, well, we have a really good chorus teacher, but we just lost our band director. Can you teach band?
Okay.
And me being the person, I said yes.
Yes.
And then I said, because he hired me right then.
Did you hand her your resume and she goes, you may be overqualified for this, or?
No. I don't even, I guess, no, I didn't have, yeah, I did have a resume.
Well, yeah, you had an amazing resume.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, I don't know if I had one there, because there it was just like talking,
Right.
interest.
Right.
But he just went ahead and hired me right on the spot.
Well, what's sticking out to me, though, that's like you didn't really like the music that was popular. That's what
Was
kind of
becoming
drove it
popular,
away.
right.
Interesting.
Right.
More of the rap and all that kind of
Right.
stuff. So, wow. Again, going to your theme of being a strong individual where you don't like it, I'm out. I'm good.
Yeah, but it was painful.
Right.
It was painful because that was my life for so many years, and all my friends were,
Yeah,
was
it's a big move.
It was painful. It was painful to leave.
Mm-hmm.
But I adjusted.
So you came down to Jacksonville, ended up being a band director.
Right.
Okay. And then how long were you a band director before you ended up going to the chorus, back to the chorus again?
I went from band to the Ritz.
Okay.
I taught at Jeff Davis from 96 to 99, and when the Ritz reopened in 99, Carol Alexander, who was the executive director there,
Okay.
called me and said, people keep mentioning your name. Can we take a meeting? And she said, I need a production manager. Would you be interested in, coming and being the production manager at the Ritz? And I had to think about it because I had built a program at Paxson that was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, at Jeff Davis.
Mm-hmm.
They were the only middle school in Jacksonville with a marching band.
School.
The only middle school.
Only
They did
middle
not
school.
allow
Got you.
middle schools to have marching bands, and I didn't know that.
So you just built one.
And it had 65 kids in it, and they were marching with concert instruments.
Wow.
But those big tubas.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. But I went back and thought about it, and I said, I think I need to do this.
Uh-huh.
So I went to the Ritz from 99 to 2001, missed teaching, went back, and then that's when I got hired at Paxson, because the district called me and said, there's a choral position open, are you interested?
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to teaching.
Wow.
And but I had started Amateur Night at the Ritz, and I had also started Ritz Voices, so I was still doing that freelance.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So bring that forward to today. Is that pretty much you remained a course teacher and kind of doing the freelance on the side? Is that from that point on to now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like your love all along was being a course teacher. What took you so long to get to that point?
I go where God leads me.
Yes. It's really interesting as we talked there. We've had a couple people on the podcast already that were students of yours, just out of pure randomness. It's just amazing how small of a world it can be.
Well, if you think of the number of years I taught and the number of students that were in my choruses, it's really not that surprising.
Right.
It's not that surprising.
Right.
They're all over the city. They're all over the city in various occupations.
What's harder to work with, a complete music star or a high school student?
Different.
I imagine there's some similarities, though.
I ran across very few celebrities with ego issues.
Really?
Very few.
Wow,
very-
that's, I would
Hugo
not expect
Bryson
you to say
and
that.
I did this when we first met, just because we're both fire signs. I'm a Leo and he's an Aries, and you have to remember. Oh, you knew that, right? You have to remember that I was the only female doing this. So the guys had to get used to me. They had to
Right.
get used to with having a woman in the studio telling them what to do. And I could tell you stories of some of the stuff they did to me in the studio that would, well, I can't say curl your hair, but
Right.
but I mean, they would take. We used to call them porn magazines. I don't know, but they would take those magazines
Yeah.
and open it to the centerfold and leave them at my desk in the
Oh,
studio.
boy.
So when I came into the control room, there
Right.
it was, just
Right.
to see my reaction.
Right.
Just to see my reaction, and
Well, they didn't know you were a tough girl from New York, so that doesn't work.
but that grew into them protecting me. If anybody new came into the environment, they said up front, she's off limits. Don't
Right.
even try it.
Right.
It was like I had 75 big brothers,
Wow.
which was really neat.
Right. Well, how does that compare to high school kids?
Oh, the high school kids were worse. especially the high school boys, who football players or whatever.
Right.
If they thought somebody was mistreating me, it was I had to talk them down.
Right.
Literally.
Right.
But and I mean they physically, and I didn't grow up in a household of affection and hugging and these kids literally they just hang on you and they just hug you and they you know, Mom, you know, and I missed that as a child. So for me
That's what drove you there.
that was it was wonderful, and it still is. They still do the same. I mean, like I said, they're 35 and 40 years old, and they still do that.
How special is that? Well, wrapping up, I want to say, talk about a couple final questions. And man, what a story. Thank you. This is awesome. What do you think of music today?
I don't.
You don't. What do you mean?
I couldn't tell you one artist of today. I mean, if they said, "Do you like so and so and so and so?"
So you listen to the artists we talked about.
I listen to smooth jazz. I listen to acoustic music, pop, and acoustic is acoustic. It's not black or white. And I listen to the. See, back when I was growing up, radio station played all formats of music. There wasn't segmented radio the way it is now. So you could hear James Brown, and then right behind James Brown came the Beatles. So I have, my generation has a really well-rounded
Yes.
music that we like.
Right.
So I really try to find stations who do that, who play that multi-format stuff. But I write a lot. That book took me like 3-4 years to write.
Wow.
And
So you continue to write music, or are you working on another book, or?
I write on demand. I mean, if there's a need for me to write something, I write. But I'm very active in my church right now. I'm acting as spiritual leader for my church.
Oh, wow.
I was in ministerial. I still am in ministerial.
Are you running the chorus in your church?
Yes.
I would
Yes.
think so.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So that's
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, final question. So if a young person comes up to you right now and says, man, I really want to be a famous singer, how do I do that? What's your advice?
anybody who comes up to me and says, I want to be a famous singer, I have nothing to do with, because that's not what it's supposed to be about.
Okay.
That means you got an ego.
Okay.
Somebody comes up to me, I always really wanted to know how to sing, and I don't seem to be able to, whatever. that's the person I'll work with. Or somebody who's really good and says, Miss McDuffie, I really love to sing and I just want to take it to the next level. That person I'll work with. Somebody says, I want to be a famous singer.
They're already starting off.
Wrong.
Right.
I got to undo all of that to get so.
Right.
And I ain't got time.
Well, I would think there would be like, I want to do it for a living. Like that, like how do you get to that point? But I guess what you're saying is like, you got to love it. It's got to come from the heart and everything else will work its way out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you really have to start with square one. You have to take the time to learn the techniques, to learn the vocal stuff. You have to, no matter what style of music you're playing, you need the foundation of how to do what you're trying to do. Because especially as a singer, the body is your musical instrument. And just like you have to tune a violin and you have to do certain things with the saxophone and by certain kinds of reeds and get to know your instrument, so to know what you can't just open your mouth and sing and do a video and be a star.
Well, it's such a good reminder because, people that aren't musically don't know anything about it. Like you just think you're just naturally born with being able to sing and that's it. But it's not, You have to work on it. You have to
can
get
have
technique.
the greatest voice in the world. Sorry to cut you off, but you can have the greatest voice in the world and not be a good singer.
Right.
I've worked with people who have the instrument is like, oh my God, I wish I had this instrument. But there's nothing there.
Wow. Great stuff. Deborah McDuffie, the Jingle Queen. Thank you so much for coming to Hometown Jacks. This was amazing, and I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Hometown Jacks podcast is recorded and produced by First Coast Mortgage Funding, located in the heart of Jacksonville. Do you want to be our next guest? Visit our website at hometownjackspodcast.com. We can't wait to hear your story.